Several years ago, I started hearing reports of people dying at ridiculously young ages. People in my age group and a little bit behind me and a little bit older than I would just suddenly die, apparently going into cardiac arrest, and their life is over, just like that. And that got me a little bit concerned. I'll never forget, one day I opened up a print newspaper, and I still use print newspapers quite often. I have my reasons for doing that, and turned to the obituary section, or came across the obituary section anyway, and see this obituary of a fellow who had been 1 year behind me in high school. And I was very surprised to hear that he had died, and apparently died quite suddenly. And I never got the story of what happened to the guy. He had been a friend of mine for a short period of time back in the early 1980s. We participated together in the County Drama Festival, and he'd come out with a Best Actor award, and I'd gotten runner-up for Best Supporting Actor. But I always thought of him as a young man. You know, sometimes you're not aware as much as you think you'd be of the passage of time, and sometimes it seems like the high school days. It's funny, in a way, my high school days, my younger life seemed like it was yesterday, but in another way, it can seem like, 40 years ago, and it wasn't 40 years ago, but it can seem that way sometimes. So I was very surprised to open the newspaper and see his obituary, and I don't know what the cause of death was, but I know that he was too young to just die suddenly. I know he wasn't in any kind of traffic accident or anything like that, because I was never able to get any information on that, doing his searching his name in search engines and things like that. But that wasn't the only case. I heard all at once, it seemed, of several cases of people just suddenly dying of heart trouble. Maybe they didn't know they had heart trouble, or maybe they neglected their health or something, and then just suddenly their life is gone just like that, far sooner than it should be. And so the very same year that happened, I started paying more attention to my health, and I saw doctors for almost every conceivable reason that year, and had various surgeries and treatments for various things. But in the summer of that year, just a few months after I'd read the obituary, had a problem with shortness of breath and some pain in my chest. And I do have hypertension. I've had that for quite a few years. But on this particular Friday night, I think it was right before the 4th of July, and it was several years ago, I got really, really concerned, went to an emergency room, and I was admitted to the hospital and did stay overnight, and all of the tests came back negative. I have had occasionally some issues with managing my blood pressure, but I've always had a negative cardiac history. But because of this situation with the chest pain and the shortness of breath, a nuclear stress test was arranged. So I had an appointment with a cardiologist to go and take a nuclear stress test in his office. And during that test, which lasted a couple of hours or so, they gave me drugs to speed up my heart rate and do a nuclear stress test with this special counter that just kind of goes around your, a special scanner that is, that sort of goes around your body after they speed up your heart rate, and then they look to see what changes happen in your heart and your blood vessel. Well, the cardiologist thought that he saw some abnormalities there, so he decided that we need to take it further and do a cardiac catheterization, also known as an angiogram. And that's where they run a thin flexible tube through an artery, through your leg, through an artery, up all the way up to the heart to determine if there's any kind of blockage and figure out if they need to, clear the blockage. And a lot of things can be fixed during this procedure if they discover a problem. Some things can't, but some things can be fixed. They can open some blockages sometimes if they find one. But my cardiac catheterization turned out just fine. It was negative. There were no problems found at all. And I always have had a negative cardiac history. But I've also had issues with hypertension, and I've had some issues with weight. And I'm going to tell you in just a little bit how I finally started getting a handle on that and got the weight to going back down. But so I was in fairly good shape, but I was, as far as my heart was concerned, but I was still concerned about all these early deaths that I would hear about and read about and get phone calls and emails about and things like that. So I went to a regular doctor's appointment a couple of years later, and upon hearing the doctor ask, "Did you really gain this unbelievable number of pounds?" I realized right then, this has got to change. This is completely unacceptable. And I'd never been one to be a regular exerciser up until that point. When I was a kid, we did a lot of running around out in the wilderness and out in the woods and riding bicycles and things like that, so I was active to a certain extent, but I was never an athlete in high school or anything like that. And by the time I got into my 20s, I had become rather sedentary. And once you get into that kind of lifestyle and think that you're invincible and invulnerable, it's kind of hard to change. And so I didn't change for a long time. For a long time, I wasn't a regular exerciser. And they say that we do need exercise to stay healthy, but I just couldn't force myself to do it for a long time, nor was I very much in control of my diet. But after hearing this shocking number of pounds that I'd put on, I decided that it was time to act and needed to do something about it. And here's what I did. I went for a 20-minute, approximately 1-mile walk that day, but I knew that I'd have to keep it up. And I knew that I needed to incorporate regular exercise into my life, and so I did. I began, and for a long time it was 7 days a week, but I'd go out and do a 20-minute fast walk, a brisk walk, every day for about a mile. And there were days that I didn't want to do this, but they say that the exercise is very necessary and very important to maintain good health, and it was especially important to me because I had this weight issue. So I started walking about a mile, about 20 minutes a day, every day. Now, it takes a while to get a new habit established in your mind. It just takes a while. You have to keep it up. They say it takes about a month of doing something continuously before that habit is established in your mind. I would recommend, if you decide to start an exercise program like that, and that's my exercise program, so to speak, that you keep it up for at least 2 months, and that way you can establish a new habit so that you actually feel guilty if you don't do it. But here's the thing. Getting that regular exercise requires discipline. It requires you, no matter how busy you are, to make time for it during your day or even after dark in the winter time. You have to make time for it. If you don't have time in the morning, you have to do it in the evening, and you have to make allowances for weather conditions. The way that I do my walking, and in the desert Southwest, it doesn't rain a lot. There is a rainy season, but it usually doesn't rain a lot. But I get out there in all weather conditions. Actually, we had snowstorm last winter in the El Paso, Sunland Park, and northern Mexico areas, and even into Arizona. So you can have all types of weather in the Southwest. But in order to get that exercise that I know that I have to get, I do it in all weather conditions, no matter what it is. In the blazing hot summer, I'm out there in my short sleeves, and I'll drink a full glass of water before I go, full glass before I come back. If it's freezing cold, then I bundle up, and I'm out there walking anyway. What if it's raining? Well, if it's raining, I take the umbrella, and I go anyway. If I absolutely can't get outside, and I usually find a way to do it. Nearly always find a way to do it. But if I absolutely can't, then I'll find a way to exercise in the house. And as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to switch over to that anyway. But the key to this exercise is self-discipline, and it takes a while to develop the habit. You have to commit to doing it in all kinds of conditions. You have to do it after dark if you can't do it during the daylight. You have to do it in freezing cold. You got to do it in the rain. You just got to do it. And that exercise is a ticket toward better health if you keep it up. That 20 minutes a day, several times a week, and I'd say at least 5 or 6 times a week, that can improve your health. And I did some other things too with water consumption. It's my opinion, after drastically increasing my intake of water, that most people aren't well hydrated enough. So I aim for about 6 glasses of regular water a day on top of everything else. And that's not always easy depending where you're going to be during the day and what you've got to do. If you're going to be close to restrooms or anything like that, you have to consider those things. But I am firmly convinced that most people are not well enough hydrated. And since I've made an effort to monitor my hydration, my digestion has improved, many things have improved. I started to watch the diet a little bit, and it's not necessarily going by a strict diet, it's just sort of watching your intake and being a little bit more moderate. There's nothing I can think of that I don't absolutely prohibit myself, but I do try to get more fiber and more vegetables and more fresh fruits and things similar in nature when I can. Make a little more effort, a deliberate effort to increase the fiber. That means eating a lot of cereal for breakfast. It means eating whole wheat bread. But that is doable. And so I did achieve some pretty good results from the 20-minute brisk 1-mile walk every day and keeping it up now for going on, let's see, how long? 14, 15, 16. Okay, it's been about 2 years. It's been about 2 years. I've been walking 20 minutes a day, at least 6 days a week. Started out 7, but now it's usually 6. And increased fluid intake and watching the diet a little bit more and being a little bit more moderate. And that can be hard to do, but when you realize you have to do it to have good health, when you realize that it's necessary, that you really do have to do, then it's easier to do. Now, as for the sensory experience, I'd love to eat a big bowl of ice cream every day with, chocolate syrup and strawberries and blueberries and whipped cream and all that, and it'd probably be better off with the fruit alone. But, I'd love to eat a big bowl of ice cream every day, but I know that I can't do that. I still eat it sometimes, but it's not every week. Most meals during the week, there is no dessert. And I do try to emphasize the vegetables a little bit more. And I used to drink a lot more than I do now. I had heavy alcohol consumption. Now it's moderate consumption, and I have seen some results. What are the results? My weight has started to go down. I started to feel less stressed. I've started to sleep better at night a lot of times. Not a guarantee. You won't always necessarily sleep better from it, but you can. I generally feel pretty good most of the time, and I have taken off, let's see, I think about 24 pounds in the last month or so, and everything is moving in the right direction. And the last time I saw a doctor and had a checkup, you know what the nurse said to me? She said, "You must be doing something right. He's really pleased with you." And so I was going all the wrong direction with my health, but with a little bit of self-discipline, a little bit of determination, I was able to turn things around. And I had a great checkup last time, and hopefully I'll be around for a long time to come. But you do have to understand, exercise, daily exercise, is very important. It's very important to be moderate with your diet. It's very important not to drink excessive amounts of alcohol, although I certainly do think a glass or 2 of wine every day is a very good thing, plus a little more on weekends. You do have to watch your diet. It is important to increase fiber. It is important to increase fluids, but I have done it. If I can do it, you can do it, because I was about as far away from moving in a healthy direction as anybody could possibly be. I had a sedentary lifestyle. I was overweight. I did too much of everything, but I made the effort because I kind of got scared, and so I did it. And so now I'm having great checkups. And you know what? Believe it or not, you can too. You just have to have some self-discipline. And it might be easier to do these things, if you get a partner help you out. I don't have one. I just had to do it on my own. But discipline, self-determination, just being determined to do it if you need to make some changes to improve your health, you can do it. I did it, and you did it too. And I'll tell you this, your quality of life will be better overall, because you're going to feel a lot better, and your health is going to be a lot better. And you won't have to worry about some crisis, some completely unnecessary crisis coming out of the blue and taking your life because you didn't know cardiovascular disease was sneaking up on you, as it will do. Take my word for it. I was never disciplined about this kind of stuff. Never wanted to do it. Was just in certain respects, because I'd work all day and then I'd be tired from the work, and I'd always say, well, I'm too tired, and really when it comes to this matter of exercise, I was just too lazy to do it, because you got to force yourself to do it, and you got to make it a habit. And one of these days I'm going to switch to a treadmill. You know why? Because the property is not that suitable for aerobic exercise. You could walk real fast, but there's a lot of obstacles, there's a lot of scrub brush and all that. But I have to get out on the road walking a lot of time. And then there are these people that you see the same ones every day a lot of time. They want to stop you and they want to get in conversation and all that. And then you start trying to figure out how to switch up your times to avoid people, and then it's just a hassle. And as much as I like the fresh air and things like that, it's just going to be a lot easier to get my exercise done, those uninterrupted 20 minutes or so, by getting a treadmill. And I strongly recommend that people get a treadmill. But here's the point. With self-discipline, with determination, and it's not as hard as you think it is. I did it. You can do it too. And you can vastly improve your health with effort, self-discipline, determination. And you do these things I'm talking about, and you are going to see a difference. I can assure you that with complete confidence, based on what I've seen in my own life, that if you do these things, your health is going to be improved, and you'll be better off for it, and the people that care about you will be better off for it, and everything will just be a lot better for you. I did it, and you can do it too. You can trust me on that. If I can do it, you can do it. So get out there and do it. Have a good day.